Everything was supposed to be perfect until Meghan Markle didn't show up, and suddenly every excuse, every silence, every carefully crafted story around Prince Harry began collapsing in real time.
Breaking today, an increasingly desperate Meghan Markle flies into the UK, if you believe them, which I never do these days, with the children, Archie and Lily in tow. But of course, she refused to turn up alongside her own husband at his major Invictus event, where once again, he looked like a broken man.
Charlotte Griffiths, the editor-at-large at The Mail on Sunday, has penned a devastating takedown of Prince Harry, where she alleges when they were partying at a shooting weekend in 2011, he slipped a white pill on her tongue and said, "Now I can trust you."
Some of us have lost more of our hair. Some of us look younger than we did before. Some of us look older.
They didn't laugh.
That Meghan Markle was supposed to stand beside Prince Harry. That was the plan. That was the image. That was the redemption moment Prince Harry needed more than anything. But then the excuse came: security. Too dangerous, too risky, too uncertain. And for a moment, it sounded believable until it didn't. Because within days, Meghan Markle quietly appeared in the UK anyway. No chaos, no threat, no incident, just silence. Controlled, clean, almost invisible. And suddenly the question stopped being, why didn't Meghan Markle attend? And became something far more uncomfortable. What was Meghan Markle actually avoiding?
But of course, P. Dinah, then we get the obligatory Meghan's coming. You know, a few days ago, P. Dinah, of course she couldn't come. Of course the children couldn't come. They're going to be killed. But now, what's changed? What's changed? Harry needs the good publicity. Harry has to move the story on, and Meghan knows she's got to play ball. So Harry Meghan's spare writes, when all else fails, pull out the kids.
For weeks, the narrative had been locked in. Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, Archie, Lilibet together. A perfect family moment, a carefully staged return. But when the moment arrived, Prince Harry stood alone. No Meghan Markle. No Archie, no Lilibet, just Prince Harry facing cameras, expectations, and a reality that no longer matched the script. And the official explanation? Security. Always security. But the problem is that explanation didn't survive the timeline.
Harry was meant to attend this event tomorrow with Meghan by his side, but her involvement was pulled when they were told they wouldn't get any state-funded security. Meghan, however, might still be in the UK with the children, but even at this late stage, neither Harry nor his father, King Charles, have found a time and a date to meet one another.
Because if Britain was too dangerous for Meghan Markle to attend one public event with Prince Harry, how did Meghan Markle and the children manage to fly into the country quietly days later? No armed convoy, no visible protection, no drama. The contradiction wasn't subtle, it was glaring, and once people noticed it, they couldn't unsee it. The story fractured, the logic disappeared, and what remained looked less like fear and more like strategy.
Meghan Markle and the kids will join Harry in the UK despite security and accommodation complaints. These were the exclusive details from the New York Post. In other words, the link. If Meghan comes with the kids, then it's more of a possibility, said the insider of Markle. Another source said the Duke could, and perhaps his children, could see Charles late Saturday or Sunday.
So what was really happening? Was security ever the real reason? Or had security quietly become leverage? Because there's a pattern here, and once you see it, it's impossible to ignore. Every time Prince Harry enters a storm, Meghan Markle disappears. Silence, distance, no statements, no appearances, no visible support. And yet, the moment things turn, positive cameras return. Appearances multiply. The spotlight resets. It's not random, it's timing. Precise, calculated.
He will have a degree of security.
Yes.
And people know, they know when he's in round, he's going to this event. You can be assured there would have been, they're not just going to leave him to fend for his own devices. That's why I absolutely won't hear the security excuse.
And this week, Prince Harry needed support more than ever. The pressure was everywhere. The headlines were brutal. The legal defeat still fresh. The financial questions growing louder. And Meghan Markle, silent, completely silent, which meant Prince Harry had to walk into the spotlight alone, and that's when everything started to unravel.
Meghan goes quiet when Harry's in a difficult situation. She wasn't sitting next to Harry during the BBC interview where he accuses his father of not supporting his security pursuits and says his father, he doesn't know how much longer his father has to live. Meghan disappeared. I mean, I need to think of more examples because I've had this conversation already today, and I apologize. But, you know, where was she when he was being tormented over some very specific chapters of Spare?
Because one moment changed everything. One question, one hesitation. Prince Harry sat across from Alison Hammond in what should have been the safest interview possible. Friendly setting, familiar tone, no real pressure. Until a simple question landed about Meghan Markle, about the children, about pride, and Prince Harry paused. Not for long, just enough for people to notice. Then came the answer, repeated back almost mechanically, and instantly people knew something was off.
Meghan disappears. When things aren't going their way, I don't think she'll be at Invictus on Friday. Harry's team's still teasing that she might be. I don't think she will because I don't think she wants to be on the arm of a loser.
That hesitation spread faster than any headline because it wasn't just about the words, it was about what wasn't there. No warmth, no conviction, no spontaneity. And suddenly, Prince Harry didn't look confident, he looked exhausted, worn down, stripped of the certainty that once defined him. And the reaction was immediate. Brutal, relentless, people began comparing Prince Harry to Prince William again. Not just in position, but in presence. Prince William, steady, composed, continuing royal duty just miles away. Prince Harry, struggling through a controlled interview that somehow exposed more than it protected. Two brothers, 12 miles apart, and yet the distance felt immeasurable. Then came the silence that mattered even more. The questions Alison Hammond didn't ask, not a single mention of the court defeat, not one reference to the staggering legal costs, not a word about the growing criticism surrounding Prince Harry. It wasn't an interview, it felt like a shield, and people noticed, because avoiding the truth doesn't erase it, it amplifies it. And the truth waiting behind that silence was devastating. Prince Harry had just lost. Completely every claim dismissed, every argument rejected. A judgment stretching hundreds of pages and buried within it a conclusion that cut deeper than any headline. Credibility questioned, publicly, permanently, and for someone whose entire identity now revolves around truth, that's not just a loss, that's a fracture. The financial aftermath only made it worse. Costs spiraling beyond control. Numbers that didn't just raise eyebrows, they raised alarms. And suddenly, the conversation shifted. Not about justice, not about principle, but about consequences. Real ones, immediate ones. And Prince Harry's response? Not reflection, not restraint, but anger. A statement that didn't calm the situation, it intensified it. Because attacking the system that just judged you, especially when that system belongs to your own father, creates a contradiction that's impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, behind palace walls, another story was unfolding. Quieter, colder, more calculated. An offer had been made, a deadline given, and Prince Harry had missed it. Simple, final, but then came the reversal. The request to return, the request to stay. And this time, the answer was no. Not delayed, not reconsidered, just no. Because timing matters in this family. And so does perception. And insiders began suggesting something even more explosive, that Prince Harry had intended to use the palace itself as a backdrop for a statement, a message, a moment of control. But the victory never came, and neither did the permission. So Prince Harry moved forward to Birmingham, to Invictus, to the one place that had always stood by him, the one space that had never turned away. But even there, something felt different. And when Prince Harry stepped onto that stage, expecting familiarity, expecting warmth, expecting loyalty, what he received instead was something far more revealing. Silence. Not polite silence. Not respectful silence, the kind that lingers too long, the kind that exposes something no statement can hide. Prince Harry stood there in front of the one audience that had always been his Invictus, his own creation, his own sanctuary, and when the joke landed, nothing came back. No laughter, no warmth, just a pause that stretched into something deeply uncomfortable. Because this wasn't just any room. This was filled with veterans, with people who had sacrificed everything. And Prince Harry chose humor about aging, about losing hair, about looking looking older. But in a room where people have lost limbs, lost sight, lost entire versions of their lives, the disconnect was immediate and brutal and undeniable. The silence said what nobody wanted to say out loud: something had shifted, something fundamental. Because when your strongest supporters stop reacting, stop engaging, stop responding, it's not a small signal. It's a warning. And Prince Harry felt it. You could see it in the pause, that moment where expectation met reality and collapsed. And from that point on, everything that followed felt different. Forced, mechanical, almost as if Prince Harry was continuing a performance that no longer had an audience willing to believe in it. Then came something even more unsettling: the narrative being reshaped in real time. Footage appeared of Prince Harry surrounded by cheering nurses. Headlines framed it as support, admiration, validation, but then longer clips surfaced. And suddenly, the context changed. The applause wasn't for Prince Harry, it was for themselves, for their own work, their own pride. And what had been presented as a moment of connection quietly turned into something else entirely, a moment of misdirection. And while that narrative played out, something else was happening quietly, almost deliberately out of focus. Catherine was working. No noise, no spectacle, a demanding challenge, physical strain, real effort, and then a quiet donation. No announcement, no cameras, just Catherine Wales, written simply, cleanly, without performance. And the contrast didn't need explanation. It spoke for itself. But just when it seemed like the week couldn't grow heavier for Prince Harry, something darker surfaced, something buried, something that had waited years before emerging at exactly this moment. Charlotte Griffith stepped forward with an account that immediately unsettled anyone who heard it. A moment from years ago, a private setting, a detail so small yet so disturbing in implication, a pill placed directly, without explanation, framed as trust. Charlotte Griffith said it may have been harmless. Charlotte Griffith said it was probably nothing serious. But Charlotte Griffith also admitted uncertainty. And uncertainty is where questions grow. Why do something like that at all? Why frame it the way it was framed? Why does this story appear now after everything else has already begun collapsing? Because timing matters. And this timing felt deliberate. And the silence around it, even louder than the allegation itself. Because when a story like this doesn't dominate headlines, when it doesn't lead broadcasts, when it quietly slips down the page, people don't assume it's unimportant. They assume something else: protection, control, influence, something unseen shaping what is allowed to explode and what is quietly contained. At the same time, the pressure around Invictus didn't disappear, it intensified. Questions about finances, about scale, about costs that no longer matched the original vision. Nothing proven, nothing confirmed. But the repetition of those questions day after day began forming its own narrative, one that Prince Harry couldn't easily dismiss. And then came the images that made everything worse. Prince Harry at his own event, shoulders slumped, expression closed, movements lacking energy, not engagement detachment. At one point, even frustration slipping through in a moment that didn't feel controlled. And suddenly, the whispers grew louder, not about failure, but about withdrawal, about someone who no longer wanted to be there. And just when everything seemed to be collapsing inward, the unexpected happened. A door opened. Quietly, unexpectedly, King Charles, Queen Camilla, Highgrove a meeting that nobody predicted, at a moment when it made the least sense publicly, but perhaps the most sense privately. And the details only made it more intense. Devices removed. No recordings, no leaks, controlled, contained, Meghan Markle arriving, waiting, being brought in, every movement deliberate, every moment monitored, and Queen Camilla never leaving King Charles's side, not once, because trust at this stage wasn't assumed, it was managed. And yet, despite everything, the history, the tension, the accusations, the meeting happened, which raises the question nobody can answer yet: why now? Because outside those walls, the reaction wasn't relief, it was outrage, not directed at Prince Harry, but at King Charles, at what this decision represented, at what it suggested about consequences or the lack of them. Because for many watching, the equation felt broken. Loyalty on one side, distance on the other. And yet, the outcome didn't reflect that balance. Prince William stayed away, deliberately, clearly, and Catherine remained beside Prince William, steady, visible, consistent, a contrast that didn't need to be explained, only observed. But inside Highgrove, something shifted. Prince Harry reportedly left feeling different, not defeated, not isolated, but restored, or at least believing he was. And that belief might be the most dangerous development of all.